Let's be honest. Everywhere you look, you see leaders who lie, cheat, and harm, yet their followers defend them fiercely. Why do people stay loyal to leaders who manipulate and hurt them? Is it brainwashing, or is there something deeper at play? A psychological spell we can't see? This isn't just about politics. It's about how our minds are wired. Today we're exposing the disturbing psychology behind why toxic leaders become icons. We'll break down the mechanics of manipulation, the biases, and the vulnerabilities that make us easy targets. This isn't about blaming followers, it's about understanding the playbook. Because once you see the tricks, you can't unsee them. Ready to break the spell? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Trauma Bonding. Toxic leaders don't just rule with fear. They mix cruelty with moments of kindness. One day they belittle and threaten. The next they offer praise or a small reward. This push-pull dynamic keeps followers on edge, desperate for approval. The relief after abuse feels like love, a rush of dopamine that's addictive. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that keeps people hooked on slot machines. Followers endure the pain, chasing those rare moments of validation. Over time, the brain confuses intensity with intimacy, and cruelty gets reframed as tough love. The leader's rare praise becomes precious, and followers start believing they're hard on me because they care. It's a psychological prison. Self-worth becomes tied to the leader's approval. Followers defend the leader, not out of loyalty, but because admitting the truth would shatter their sense of self. Leaders know this. They isolate followers, create an us versus them mentality, and deepen dependency. The result? A hostage situation where the hostage falls for the captor. When you see someone defending a toxic leader, remember, they're not crazy. They're trapped in a trauma bond. They're defending the fleeting kindness that makes the abuse bearable. It's a tragic, self-perpetuating loop. The leader becomes the only source of relief in a world of pain. Breaking free isn't about willpower. It's about breaking the cycle. Understanding this is the first step. Trauma bonding is powerful, but it can be undone. Recognize the pattern, and you can start to escape it. The cycle only ends when you see it for what it is. That's how the spell begins to break. Let's move on. Chapter 2. Fear of uncertainty. Humans crave predictability. We want to know what's coming next. Toxic leaders offer a twisted sense of order, even if it's oppressive. The alternative? Chaos, instability, and the unknown. That fear is primal. We'd rather stick with a bad leader than face uncertainty. Leaders exploit this by painting themselves as the only barrier against disaster. Without me, everything falls apart. It's a classic tactic. People start to believe that enduring injustice is better than risking chaos. The devil you know feels safer than the unknown. Even if people hate the system, the thought of change is terrifying. The leader becomes synonymous with stability. Challenging them feels like inviting disaster. So people stay put, rationalizing the leader's behavior to avoid the anxiety of uncertainty. This is why revolutions are rare. It's not just about toppling power, but overcoming the fear of the void. Leaders reinforce this by manufacturing crises and presenting themselves as the only solution. The result? Loyalty born not from love, but from a desperate need for certainty. It's a survival instinct gone wrong. People aren't choosing the leader. They're choosing the illusion of safety. The familiar prison feels less scary than the unknown. That's the real cage. Breaking out means facing fear head-on, but once you see the illusion, you can start to question it. The first step is recognizing that fear is the real enemy. Let's keep going. Next, the power of the tribe. Chapter 3. Group Identity. We're social animals. Belonging to a tribe is hardwired into us. Toxic leaders weaponize this need to belong. Joining a movement isn't just about beliefs, it's about identity. You become part of us, defined against them. The leader becomes the symbol of the tribe. Criticizing the leader feels like betraying your community. The fear of being cast out is stronger than personal doubts. People silence their conscience to stay in the group. Loyalty becomes a social requirement, not a personal choice. Disagreement is seen as a threat to unity and is stamped out. The leader fuels an us versus them mentality, creating a siege mindset. The group bonds tighter, loyalty deepens, and the leader becomes the protector. Even if you see the leader's flaws, the risk of losing your tribe is too great, so you conform, rationalize, and perform loyalty. This is how toxic loyalty becomes culture. Your identity fuses with the group and its leader. Attacking the leader feels like an attack on yourself. Facts and logic don't matter, social survival does. That's why people defend leaders even when they know better. The need to belong is everything. To break free, you have to risk standing alone. It's hard, but it's possible. Recognize the power of the tribe, and you can start to reclaim your own voice. Let's look at the next psychological trap: projection. Chapter 4. Idealized projection. We don't just follow leaders, we invent them. We project our hopes and dreams onto them, turning flawed humans into superheroes. The leader becomes a blank screen for our ideal selves. Their success feels like our success, their strength, our strength. It's an ego boost by proxy. Once we've projected our ideals, reality barely matters. The leader can lie or fail, but followers defend the image, not the person. Admitting the leader is a fraud means admitting we were wrong, a painful truth most avoid. Toxic leaders encourage this, hiding flaws and performing strength. The rallies, the symbols, the speeches, it's all theater to maintain the illusion. Followers aren't defending the leader, they're defending their own dreams. Breaking the spell means facing uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It's hard to shatter the mirror, but it's the only way to see reality. Once you recognize projection, you can reclaim your power. Now let's talk about the final, most tragic trap. Chapter 5. Learned helplessness. After years under toxic leadership, people stop resisting, not because they agree, but because they believe nothing will ever change. It's like the animal in the experiment. After enough failed attempts to escape, it gives up, even when escape is possible. In toxic systems, every effort to speak out is crushed. Hope fades, replaced by resignation. People self-censor, keep their heads down, and go along to survive. The leader doesn't need to oppress. They've convinced people to oppress themselves. Silence isn't support, it's learned helplessness. The leader's ultimate victory is convincing people their voices don't matter. The cage is now inside their minds. But even this can be broken. Recognizing learned helplessness is the first step to reclaiming agency. It's not easy, but it's possible. The fire of dissent can be rekindled. The first spark is awareness. Let's bring it all together. Breaking the cycle starts with understanding. Here's how. So what keeps us loyal to toxic leaders? Trauma bonding, fear of chaos, tribal identity, projection, and learned helplessness. It's not stupidity, it's human psychology. Understanding these forces is the first step to breaking the cycle. Once you see the playbook, you can't be manipulated as easily. Nobody is immune, but awareness is power. If this resonated with you, let's talk in the comments. Have you seen this kind of loyalty in your life? What's the most powerful factor? Share your experiences, because the more we talk, the less power these tricks have. If you want more psychology like this, hit like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching. Remember, the spell only works if we don't see it. Now you do. Stay curious, stay aware. See you next time.